This is Andrea, and this is our Southern Nest Adventure. Hold on, let me just close the door. Okay, David is watching a movie downstairs. Okay, so for any of my followers that have been leaving me messages and don't know what's going on here, and for your support, thank you so much. Most of them are not into the drama, don't want the drama. They're just in it for the right reason, which is the dolls. So let me, for new people that are coming into my channel or that are watching my channel, let me just give you a quick overview as to where we are right now. If you are following this controversy and this bickering between Sam's channel, M's Gems, Belt Reborn Nursery, Pixie Mommy's Reborns, etc. So first of all, let me tell you one thing. I cannot be bought and I will not be used by people here. This is a small community, and I really don't care what people think here. Once this phone goes off, it doesn't matter. My friends don't care. My family don't care. My employees don't care. People don't care. The people that are here for the dolls, they don't care. The only people that care are the people that are here for drama. So let me just give you a quick overview of how I got into this community. I've been watching this community for about 2 years prior to getting in here, which was April of last year. I opened up the channel in October of 2018, but I didn't do anything because I didn't know which way, if I wanted to actually do a channel, because there was already a little bit of controversy going on already, and I didn't know if I wanted to, if that was my thing. And so I kind of held back, and I've been watching certain channels. One of them was the Reborn Doll Collective. I watched her religiously, and ultimately I bought one of her dolls, and there's a playlist on my channel as to how this sale went for me, and this is my experience, this is my feeling, this is what I feel. And there's one thing about feelings, and this is one thing about facts and money and transactions and things like that. Facts matter, and so do feelings. So the transaction went all kinds of horrible, and to a point where my daughter got really upset because there was a smear campaign brought up against me, because I wanted to either return the doll that was sent to me that had issues that I either wanted to have fixed or wanted the doll to be returned. And ultimately, I did refunded the money after doing a chargeback, because my daughter got really upset because she heard all these horrible things said about her mother on social media, because we open up this channel for our family, our friends that live all over, in Europe, in the Pacific Northwest, in California, and this is not really why, I'm here. I'm not here, for the drama. I'm not here, specifically just for the dolls, but, to share our lives and to talk about other hobbies and things like that. So when that doll sale went all kinds of crazy, you have to remember that this was a doll collector that had been here for, at the time, 3 years, and I was brand new, and she had about 5,000 followers, and a couple of her ardent supporters, one of them was Pixie Mommy's Reborns and My Little World Katie, made it their business to start a smear campaign against me on not just YouTube but also on Instagram. And um, had people told people, not to sell to me, not to sell me clothes. As a matter of fact, there's actually, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to make a video tomorrow regarding a specific Instagram seller that actually did sell me something and took the money and never sent me the product. And this person is also friends on Instagram with all of them. And I would like to know, at what point do you, is $12, worth your reputation, your integrity, your character? Is it okay to sell your character for $12? Um, thank God it was only $12 because this one would only take friends and family. If this would have been a $300 doll, that would have been horrible, and that's why I don't believe in friends and family. So anyway, so what was done ultimately was there was videos made about me, and the videos are still up, and they are still on the Reborn Doll Collective's site, and I've been trying everything short of seeking legal action to get this video down, to this playlist down. But after talking to my attorney, it's going to cost about $15,000 to you have to get a case and you have to subpoena people and the whole nine yards. Like criminally, you can't do anything because it's not criminal. Neither is calling somebody a scammer and a liar and a racist. I can say that too about everybody. That's everybody's opinion. I can call them that too. Legally, it's not. It falls under your First Amendment, right? So I decided not to spend that money on something so stupid, because to me this is a hobby. That's all it is. It's not my livelihood. It's not my. It has nothing to do with my children, with my marriage, or anything like that, or my career. So you know what? Forget it. At the same time, um, Sam from Sam's channel was friends with the Reborn Doll Collectives, and they were basically all of them ganging up against me, making videos systematically to bring me down. Like every day, another video, just to basically, that was according to Sam, to drag me out of this community, just to make it so difficult to wear as a newbie that I would just leave. And I wouldn't leave, and I was fighting back, and I wasn't going to leave because there was no reason to leave. That's ridiculous. And ultimately, there was a falling out between Sam and Inez, because Sam befriended Lexi. What is her name? What is her channel name? Hey there, Spooky Face. So she befriended Sam, and Inez didn't like that, and so Sam had to decide, where she was going to be, and she stuck with Lexi. Always thinking in the back of her mind that, Anasha and I would just watch, and she would always kind of like wonder, if Inez would come in there or not, and she didn't, and finally she gave up. And so then she started following my channel and talking to me more and more, and that's how our friendship started. When this whole thing with Inez came out, and where she called me a scammer and all that stuff, Emily from M's Gems left me a comment on one of my videos that I made, a rebuttal video, saying, I know how you feel, because she's done this all, the whole time she's been here, or to many people. I can't remember exactly what she said. I still have it on my. You can watch all of them. I haven't deleted any videos. And she said, I know it happened to somebody that's been here for a long time, and that was TMC. I didn't know TMC at the time. And I'm like, okay, well, at least I'm not the only one. Maybe, if I would have been the only one, I would have said, well, maybe she doesn't like me, and maybe I just, maybe it's just one of those things, and just let it go. But if she did it to other people too, then it's not just then it's like kind of like a character flaw. And um, so that's how we all became friends. So I didn't know much about Jen until this whole thing with Mama T came up with that smoky doll, the doll that apparently smelled like smoke. I don't know if the doll smelled like smoke or if not. I don't care. I wasn't there. I don't care. But apparently it smelled like smoke, and Jen said it didn't smell like smoke. And so there was like a battle going on between, in a life, between Sam had the life, Inez was in there, Katie was in there, Pixie was in there, and Jen and like a bunch of other people. And Anasha and I were sitting in the back just watching, and they were just hammering on Jen, constantly saying, "You smoke, you smoke. Why don't we have seen an ashtray? I've seen somebody said I saw an ashtray in one of your screenshots. I saw an ashtray." And Sam and Jen would say, "I why would I smoke? Why would I smoke? I just had a heart attack, and why would I be smoking?" So at that point, I jumped in and I said, "Why are you all jumping on her? You know, she obviously just had a heart attack. Why are you jumping on her? That's not right." And I was at that point like followed Jen and was never really good friends with her, just kind of like another YouTuber. And then the more me and Sam started talking, the more I found out about the backstory between Jen and Emily and Sam and Inez and that whole freaking drama between all of them. And I was just kind of like listening. And in the meantime, I still had my thing. My issue was Inez, because Inez was still after me, you know, jeopardizing sales that I had with other artists, custom sales, jeopardizing clothing sales. Um, I mean, it was just horrible. It was just a never-ending attack, and so that was my whole thing was right there. I never really paid much attention to Jen. Um, but then TMC came into the mix, and TMC apparently had an not apparently she did have an issue with Inez too and Katie, and I don't want to say much more about that because it's not necessary. But so we started to kind of like compare notes, and bottom line, over many months, we all became good friends, and we talked about, me and Sam talked about other things. We didn't just talk about dolls, we talked about life and kids, and everybody knows that I'm not on YouTube a lot, and I don't watch everything, and I'm not really all that interested in it, really. I have a busy life, and um, and that's just how it is. So at one point, I was asked, what are you going to do about the playlist? In order to get the playlist down, you need to hire a lawyer. I did too, and I sent a restraining order, and that worked. And I told her, that being TMC, the restraining order doesn't work here because maybe it works, but you need to have a case. And I mean, you can send like a make believe restraining order, but if you really want to have a case, like my lawyer wasn't going to start a restraining order unless there was really a case. Because if whoever I send a restraining order to would say, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go to court, you need to have a case. And she said there's not enough here um, to warrant a case. The only thing that you will get is from the judge is that he'll say, okay, she has to take the playlist down. And that's it. And you spend 15 grand for that. And I told TMC, I'm not paying that. I'm not doing that. To me, it's not worth it. And then this thing with, then Jen started, then this thing came out with that court papers, with this court case of Sam's. And I had no idea anything. I didn't know anything about any court case. I didn't know there was a custody agreement. We never talked about it. I never asked about it. I don't care. And apparently there was, not apparently, there was a threatening email sent to Sam where Jen was called a rape. No, Jen called Sam a, no, somebody, not Jen, I don't know if it was Jen or not, but there's no proof that Jen ever sent this. There's no proof anywhere. Because I asked, I asked Sam, do you have proof that this came from Jen? And she said no, because the IP address came from New York. I know that because she gave me the IP address, and I know the IP address came from New York. And um, Jen lives in Pennsylvania, so, or somewhere in that area, yeah, Pennsylvania. So so anyway, so nobody really has proof that this threatening email came from Jen. But the funny thing about it is that it said something like you better get your subscribers in check and stop, tell them to stop leaving me thumbs down, and you have until 6 o'clock tomorrow, or I'm doing a live, or there's going to be a live, and people are not going to, and it's not going to be fun, because and people are going to look at you in a different light. And Sam, of course, assumed it what came from her, and without hardcore evidence, I've, you know, I felt the same way. I'm like, who else would send this email? Unless it came from one of her friends, which I couldn't prove, and it wasn't none of my business. Anyway, so nothing happened. So at 6 o'clock happened the next day, and Jen came up with this video that she came up with these court documents talking about this case, and the child and the custody, and word by word, line by line, talking about the whole thing. And I'm like, what? I was shocked. What I read, I was pretty shocked. And then I think where Jen made a huge mistake, in my opinion, is she put her own personal feelings into this case, instead of just putting up a link, and just say, okay, yeah, this is what happened. And because the reason why Jen was upset is because Sam was running around saying that she won a custody case regarding against her ex-husband, because Emily had put something up before this, like a year before, saying threatening Sam with this, that she knows that there was a custody case, and regarding her child, and she put a date in there. And that's how Jen found out about this, and put a mugshot up of the father of this child. And so when I heard all of this, I was like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Why would you just, it's one thing to put a link and people can click the link, or they don't, but it's not in your face, and you don't make a whole video about it. But if you make a video and you read words in your own voice, it's very different than putting a link up and say, okay, you know what, this is, if somebody wants to know the truth, this is public record, this is on any Google device, go right on ahead. But I didn't do that because I trusted Sam, and I really didn't know her last name, and even when I did know her last name, I could never remember how to spell it. So, but I never mistrusted her, because I'm not a mistrusting person until I came into this community. So when people tell me, okay, this is how things went, I believe that. I mean, like I said, everybody comes into my life with a clean slate until they screw me over, and then that's it. And I can't forgive that then. So then, so everybody then was on Jen. Everybody, she was like enemy number one at that point. And then this whole thing with Teresa and the Smoky doll happened, and where she denied that she smoked, yada yada yada. Again, she smoked, and then she said she did smoke, and then so that was like, so to me, it was, I might change my mind about Jen, not being friendly with her anymore because of this child custody situation thingy that came out, and the smoking, the line. Because I was standing up for her, and and she lied, so that's not okay. Um, so then, let me think what happened after that. Okay, uh, then it just like there was just other drama going on in the community. The community is never really drama free. Then Shelby came into the mix, and she flip flopped from Inez's side to my side, and then to Pixie, and so that was drama, and so we were kind of like concentrating on that, and then um, when this thing with Shelby happened, where um, Shelby, called me and wanted to. Um, we had two phone calls. One about an Instagram account that I had kept private because I didn't trust what was said about me in the community anymore, because I didn't want to lose any more money. I didn't want to lose any more sales. I didn't want to lose any more people that were selling me dolls and then not going through with it. So I needed to have a private account where I could see what people are saying about me. So this private account was created. I gave the link to Shelby and to Sam and Bumble Baby and me, and to Anasha. Anasha doesn't have an account though. So all of a sudden the account was found out, and I called Sam and asked her, did you give this account to anybody? And she's like, no, why would I? And then I called then I called Shelby next, and because I couldn't remember that I gave it to Bumble Baby and me, I couldn't even remember that, and until just recently I remembered that, and I asked Shelby, and she's like, no, why would I do this? I didn't do this, da da da. And then we start having a really long conversation about, like, why would you make this video about Jen apologizing, yada yada yada, without talking to us first, because we were all supporting Sam, and then all of a sudden, like, do you know anything that we don't know, or what made you change your mind? And she said, no, because I'm a social worker, and that's I see some a conflict here, and I can't be part of it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, and that made sense to me. And we start talking about personal stuff, and then we're like, okay, we don't want you to lose a friendship. Do you want to continue? Do you want to just put it behind us and be friends? And because we had so much more in common than just the YouTube community. And she's like, yeah. We both agreed, yeah, that we were going to do that. And then the next day I said, okay, the next day I'm going to have to make a video, because people are going to be completely weirded out, like, what's going on all of a sudden. And she's like, yeah, make a video. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make a video saying that, we all buried the hatchet, and it's good for the community. When you have a problem, you can resolve it, and you can talk about it, and you can go on, and this community is not that important. And so she said, okay, fine. And she said, okay, I'm going to go see my son. I'm going to be in the train. I'm not going to be home until 8:30. So if your video comes up and I haven't responded, just be sure to know that I'm not ignoring. I'm going to be home late. I'm like, that's fine. So the next day, she called me, and I hadn't done the video yet. And she said, hey, can you, and I have all the links to all of this stuff. She said, can you call me? I have a question about your video I want to make. I'm like, sure. And it was like really late at night, and I'm like, we can talk now. And she's like, oh, it's really late over there. And I'm like, that's fine, I stay up late anyway. That's a good thing about when you have raised your kids, and and you've done your duty, and this is now the third act of our lives, and we can sleep in and conduct our lives the way we want to, and sleep when we want to, and wake up when we want to, and I've done my share of raising my kids and taking care of my family. So anyway, so I said, yeah, you can call, I can call you right now. Okay, yeah, call. So I called her up, and she said, well, you know what, I have a little bit of, like, why, why don't you just not use my name and just say, you want to make friends with the community and just don't use my name. And I'm like, why? And she says, well, because wouldn't it be better to, just it being a secret for now and just to see how it all plays out. And I'm like, why? And I kind of had a feeling that she was gonna, in the back of my mind, I was talking to David about it, and he's like, that's really weird because isn't she friends with Pixie? And isn't Pixie not a friend of yours? And how is that all gonna work out? I'm like, I have no idea. But she was okay with it, so I'm gonna go with it. So, but I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if she calls and maybe backpedal. And she did. So we had a long, very heated discussion. Um, where she asked me to, why are you on Pixie's channel? Why don't you just get off? She's not talking about you. And I'm like, yeah, she's talking about me because I've heard it with my own ears. And and she's like, well, once you get off, she's not going to talk about you, blah blah blah. And so we go on and on and on and on. And at the end of the conversation, we're like, I'm like, you know what? She says, okay, well, how about if I'm a mole for you and I just report to you? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't need a mole. Actually, I don't need a mole. I don't. Why would I need a mole for? And so in the conversation from the day before, when we were talking about all being friends and stuff, I said, well, I'm going to run this by Sam and Emily too, because I want to know if they're all okay. I can't speak for them. And she said, okay, good. And I called them both separately. And Sam said, that's fine. You can be friends with her, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I don't trust her. You know what I said in Emily's video live. I don't trust her. I'm not there yet. I'm like, okay, but she's like, you can do whatever you want. Okay, great. Now I talked to Emily, and Emily's like, nope, I'm not going to be friends with her. She lied to me 3 times. One of them just recently about Pixie and about how she doesn't like her. She can't stand her. And now she's in her membership. And I'm like, okay, fine, fine, fine. So after this second phone call, I basically just, told both of them like what had happened, that she backpedaled and everybody kind of like saw this coming. And then this thing with Jen's life happened where she had that political life debate going on. And um, I went in after Sam. I think somebody told me she had a debate, like a live debate going on, and a political debate. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. And then somebody texted me saying, okay, but Sam is in there. And I'm like, what? Why is she in there? And so I went in there also, and because Jen said, oh, anybody's welcome. I'm unblocking everyone. So you can all have a voice. I'm like, okay, let's see if this works. So I clicked in, and yeah, it worked. And then I was just starting to debate with Jen. And we just had, I ignored everybody else. I just had a debate. Basically just said really what my feelings were regarding, politics, and that was it. And Lexi was in there, and Sam was in there, and Sam brought up this QAnon situation all the time, and I didn't understand what the QAnon had to do with politics, because that's kind of like a cult. That had nothing to do with, I mean, it has something to do with Trump, because he kind of like, he just likes them because they're voting for him, but whatever. It's like, well, crazy. Anyway, and then Lexi was in there, and then Lexi was timed out a couple of times because apparently she said something rude, and I was sticking up for her, and it was kind of going pretty smoothly. At the end, we all kind of like, okay, bye, let's do, we'll be there at the next debate, whatever. And that night or that morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from Emily, like a voice call at like 5:30 in the morning here. And she was completely like unhinged, like upset at me and Sam for being in this live. How can you be in there? She's not a debater, and why would you debate with her? And yada yada yada. I mean, just go on and on and on and on. It was a she made that message between, it was a group message that she sent to me and Sam. both. And um, I'm like, oh my God. So I just kind of like went back to sleep, but I couldn't really go back to sleep really. So at 7 o'clock, 2 hours later, I woke up and I'm like, okay, this is really bothering me. I need to leave a message back. And I left her message just to her because I didn't have to explain it to Sam, and saying, I don't know what you're talking about here. This has nothing to do with dolls. Has nothing to do with the Reborn community. It's a political discussion, and I have a right to be in there and discuss with people. I'm sorry. Um, I always had a problem with people telling me what to do. Period. Um, so that kind of like went off, fell on flat ears. So I got 3 or 4 more messages, and like by 11 o'clock, I called Sam, and I'm like, "Oh my God, did you get the messages from Emily?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got them." And she's like, "So what's going on?" She's like, "Oh, me and Emily are good." And I'm like, "You're good? Why? What happened?" And she says, "Well, I explained why I was there, and the explanation you all heard, what her explanation was." And she says, "And between you and me, don't ever say to Emily again that me and Emily are, or me and Jen are good, because we are not. We are not good." And I'm like, "Look, I read that email you sent to her, where the first line you say, 'Oh, I come in peace. I come in peace, LOL.'" And I'm like, that was like kind of like a peacemaking um, email, and you didn't even tell me that. And that email was sent to you in June 3rd, and you didn't tell me about that email until like 3 weeks later. And in the meantime, I'm still kind of defending you to Jen. And Jen, at one point, I remember saying, "I don't know why you're still on my case. Me and Sam are good. Me and Sam are good." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? You and Sam are good. You and Sam are not good. What's going on?" So I kind of blew it off. And then that phone call at 11 o'clock in the morning, when she says, "I'm not good with her." I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not good with her. Yeah, I mean, you left that, you go into her life, you sent that email. I mean, what else can you possibly do to show that you are good with her? And she says, "I'm not good with her." And we started getting into this argument. And she says, "And by the way, I just want to tell you, and I wasn't going to tell you, but I'm mad. I talked to Shelby behind your back." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Why?" And she says, "Because with your story didn't make any sense." I'm like, "Why? Why didn't it make any sense?" And she's like, "You said that Shelby was crying, and Shelby wasn't crying." And I'm like, "What? Are you real? I mean, are you for real right now?" And she's like, "Yeah, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm hanging up." And I hung up. And I thought about it. I had some breakfast. I talked to a couple of friends in LA. I told them the whole story, my good friends I've had for a long time, and they're like, "You know what? Just get out of this community. It's crazy." So I sent all of them a message saying, "I'm getting out. I'm getting out. I can't do this anymore. I will tell people what's going on here, and how I've been betrayed here, and I'm getting out." And that's how that four-way conversation comes in. When TMC had on WhatsApp, she started this four-way group conversation where she wanted to clear the air between all of us. Well, what happened in the clearing the air, I found out that Emily also went behind my back to um, to Shelby, and and talked to her. And then she brought up the fact that, like, "You gave my phone number to Catherine." And I'm like, "Look, you gave me your permission. If you can't remember, I'm sorry, but you gave me the permission. And if you don't remember, I'm sorry, but Catherine is fine. She's good. She would never do anything. But I don't ever give phone numbers out, with the exception of TMC. I gave her Anasha's phone number, and that's only because we're all from Europe. We all have similar. We talk about Anasha all the time. Anasha talks about TMC all the time. Instead of doing the back and forth all the time, I give her the number. Okay, that's on me. I apologize for that. I apologize for it a million times. But in the meantime, Anasha and TMC talked numerous times by themselves, without me being involved or having any input in that or anything. So if you think that somebody, that you are worried about somebody having your phone number, why are you picking up the phone? Why are you having a private conversation with them? Why would you not just block them if you're worried about somebody? So so that's how those two things with the phone calls happen. So that's, in a matter of a year and a half, I gave a phone call. I gave Catherine a phone number for Emily, which Emily um, is okay with because she didn't say anything until just this last 2 weeks that she was upset with it. And TMC told me, like, right after I gave it to her, she's like, okay, don't do this again because I like this. My number is my private for my friends and family only. And I'm like, okay, let's go. That's cool. It won't happen. That's it. That's how this whole thing happened. That's how this ended. And so when this whole four-way thing um, was going on, the four-way conversation, um, and I found out about Emily, Anasha was on the other line because she was listening on David's phone because David was sitting right there and listening also. And because I was on speaker, David listened to it and Anasha listened to it. And it's a phone call to me, and I can have whoever I want to listen to that. That's not a federal crime. Period. So uh, so at that point, when I found out about Emily, my radar went even further up. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I can trust these people. I really don't. This is a bridge too far now. And so the next day, or maybe that afternoon even, Emily calls me again and says, I'm very sorry. I apologize for betraying you and going behind your back. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, you already said that. Why are you calling me again? And she's like, well, I just want to do it privately. I'm like, okay, fine. And I told her, I'm like, look, I'm like, Jody had a political discussion going on, and she might have another one, and I'm going to go in there, and because I like political discussions, and I like Jody. And at that point, Emily said to me, if you go in there, um, Marla will see it as a betrayal. And I'm like, why? And she said, because of what Jody said to her, or I didn't see that video that Jody made, but apparently it was about mask and the law, and Marla got all upset, and I'm like, look, I'm not getting involved in everybody's drama here. I'm not here for the drama. I'm here for the stinking dolls. Leave me out of this stuff. And she says, well, if you go in there, Marla will see it like a betrayal, like what Sam did to you with Shelby. And I'm like, are you for real right now? And I'm like, okay, you know what? Have Marla call me, and I want to hear from her. I want to hear from her what her issue is here. And she says, okay, but she probably won't be today. She's really sick. Maybe tomorrow or the next day or next week or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. So um, the next day or maybe that night, I can't remember, Jody did a live where she talked about me, and she called me by name. And um, somebody called me and said, look, you need to go in there because she's talking about you and using your name. And I'm like, well, if somebody's using my name, I'm going in there. So I went in there and I said, what is your problem? And she's like, that life you were in yesterday with Jen, why were you so weird? And, in the beginning, you were really harsh and you didn't agree, and then you did agree, and what's the problem? And so I'm like, you know what? There were so many things discussed. Maybe some things I agreed with and some things I didn't. I don't know. And she's like, well, it was kind of weird. Like she thought that I was in cahoots with somebody. I don't know. Um, and so the life is over, and I go to bed, and I get a phone call from Emily again, chewing me out again for being on Jody's life now. I cannot believe it. You broke Marla's heart and you betrayed us. And I'm like, are you for real right now? You've got to be joking. I am not playing this game with you guys anymore. I'm done. I'm completely done. And I can't do it. I can't do any of this. This is not what I came into this community for. This is all drama. This has nothing to do with dolls. This has nothing to do with a hobby. I'm sick of it. And the only people that are in the drama here are the people with no dolls, with no, you know, they don't show dolls, they don't show box openings, they don't show the dolls, they don't talk about the dolls. It's all drama, 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 drama. And I am sick of it. And at that point, I told her, I'm like, look, I'm done. I'm not taking this anymore. Um, and um, I'm I'm out of here. I'm out of this channel. I'm gonna basically what I wanted to do on Sunday, I'm gonna do today. I'm just gonna let everybody know that I feel betrayed by you guys, and because you guys used me completely. And so then they all tried to call me all day long, like five missed phone calls, and I have screenshots of that too. And I wasn't going to listen to them anymore. And then I listened to what I did listen to though is the voice conversation that was on my phone, the group call that I didn't, that was on my, that Emily started between me, that where she group called Sam and me. And then Sam responded in the group call, and I didn't. I responded privately. So, but the group call was still on my phone, so I listened to it, and that's when that's when I found out that things were not kosher. And then I found a couple of things out that I didn't know, and then I went into the group chat. Then all four of them, all three of them had that chat on WhatsApp, and I was still part of it, and I listened to a couple of voice messages that Sam had left, and one of them was um, that I was sabotaging their cause, and that and something that I guess they knew that I would eventually hear or listen to these voice recordings. And that's the one where Sam said, uh, Jen is going to be really upset, that you called welfare on her. She's going to be really happy about that, basically blackmailing me. And at that point, I was really upset. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, I can't trust her, period. And I start, I went on my computer and I looked up this case, and I found out that whatever she said was lies. They were all lies. And everything that she said, that she was the victim, and and what her boyfriend did to her daughter wasn't true, and that she won the case because she fought for the case. No, that's not true either. I mean, it's like the whole thing was like a nightmare, and I felt completely betrayed, and lied to, and taken advantage of. And at that point, I I'm like, I've had it. You lied. I don't know what your cause is. Maybe the cause was Jen. Maybe the cause was who knows who, Pixie. Who knows what the cause was? I already told him that I wasn't going against them legally. I was done. But if I found out something that they did behind my back, like that, like what the, when the Dolatorium said that, maybe our phones are hacked, and, all of a sudden I couldn't get into my Instagram account anymore. That was hacked again. Yeah, of course my radar goes up. My Instagram account was hacked last year when this whole doll situation happened too. So yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not stupid. I wasn't born yesterday. So yeah, when stuff like that comes up, I'm going to speak out. Period. In a story. Um, so um, you know, so let's get to the meat and potatoes thing that I feel here. First, Jen, you are no victim here. You're not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say. Um, it is not against the law to file a report, or file a complaint, or file an inquiry, um, with the welfare department, when you state that you are on welfare. And last year you said that just to prove a point how well your business was doing, you were saying that you sold like $12,000 worth of dolls. To me, those two things don't make sense. How you between the smoking, you know, the court records, you our welfare, you don't report it. You know, yeah, I did report it, and you know what? This is my tax money too, and I have every right to report it, and there is no law that was broken. Period. I even left my name and my phone number for these people, and my email address, because I'm not doing things behind anybody's back. I don't need to, you know. But when I have a suspicion and I can't talk to you because on several occasions you lied, like for instance the smoking, I have an issue, and you didn't, and I don't know how many times you lied about the smoking, but you lied about it with Teresa for one, for sure. That's for damn sure. And that Sharon, Mama T, I don't know because I wasn't there, so I don't know. And I never spoke to her privately, so I can't speak for her. But then your son ousted you too and said that you did smoke. So, which, it's like either you smoke or you don't, and then, come clean and then don't, make us all look like an idiot. So, yeah, because that you lose credibility with people like me when you do stuff like that. So, yeah, so let's put things on let's make a couple of things very clear. You're not a victim here. Um, um, do I agree with what you did with the court documents? No, I told you myself that I would have handled it differently, like I handled it. Like I just put the link up there. If somebody was after me that I know had some um, was playing the community to be a victim and she's not, you know, I mean, I myself I would have just walked away. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine. My whole reason why I wasn't even going to put that video out there. I made a phone call to Sam that morning saying, I cannot believe what you did. I'm disgusted by what you did in court and what you did to your daughter. I'm sickened by that. And that you didn't come clean with me. You pretended to be this victim, which you're not. And what else did I say? And then I showed her the case that I found online. I took a screenshot of it and I showed her that in the message in my message that I sent to her, and I said, if you don't stop blackmailing me, like I'm gonna tell Jen, blah blah blah, and I'm gonna tell you, and you're gonna be like, everybody's gonna hate you. Everybody's gonna hate you for going against us, and because they all gonna love it, and you're gonna be, stop. You know what? I don't care. None of these people are my friends. None. Nobody. Nobody. You're all not worth to me, my friends. None of you. Um, so, me giving Jen the information that I did was for my own benefit, not for Jen's, not for Sam, not for Emily, not for anybody. It was for me. Okay, that's because I am not going to be blackmailed. Okay, and I know I didn't do anything wrong. It's not illegal to do this, period. But I wasn't going to have Sam have anything hang over my head. Is she crazy? I got enough hanging over her head that she better be quiet. Because she's very lucky that I'm not like that. That I keep things very private. Like I texted Emily last night and said, you know what, we need to do this privately. I do not like to, wash our dirty laundry out in YouTube la la land. And she's like blah 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 blah. It's like these people are just complete nut jobs, all of them. Um, and so I didn't do this solely for you, Jen. I did it for me. And do I regret it? No, because you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. I reported something that I thought was not kosher. You lied before, so you're not an honest person, and therefore there we go. And um, and then tonight, what you did tonight was also not kosher. Like making this live you know, defending yourself to Emily or bringing Emily to the carpet. I told you the whole time that I wasn't watching Emily. I didn't want to have anything to do with her. I'm not watching her. I'm not watching Sam. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm done. And then you bring out and you said, okay, I'm doing a live. I'm doing a rebuttal to Emily. I'm like, okay. And then, and she said, and you said to me, um, you can be there, blah blah blah. Um, I mean, you texted me that you were going to do a live. If you didn't want me to be there, then you wouldn't have texted me that you were doing a live. So, um, but then, and you said to me like, and one thing I do have to say to you is like from before after I told you everything, not everything, but a lot of stuff that I knew. There's a lot more that I know, but I'm not going to reveal anything else here to you people. You are just all guys can dig your own shit up. I'm not your own personal secretary here or detective. Um, but you told me after I said that to you, you said, well, you know what? I know that you have a problem with Pixie, but I'm friends with her and I can't unfriend her. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, you don't need to unfriend her. I don't care. I'm not like that. I don't dictate to other people who they can be friends with, but I'm not friends with Pixie. I will never forgive what Pixie did, ever, period. Unless I get an apology from her. She had no business getting into my business. It was not her money, not her transaction. She need to stay out of it. And she didn't. So that's on her. That's not on me. So no, I don't owe Pixie anything, and I don't owe you anything either. And as far as Sam and Emily and TMC, I don't owe any of them anything either. So the only people that I owe anything to here is my true followers that are here for the right reasons, that are stuck with me, through this whole thing. And I tell you, I'd rather take 25 or 30 people that are good, decent, honest people that are here for the right reasons, that are here for the hobby, that are not here for the drama, that believe what I say to be truthful and not use me, because you guys used me. Period. All of you. Every one of you used me. And Sam used me because she wanted to get at Inez by befriending me. That's it. That was the only reason why Sam befriended me. I know that. I know that now. I didn't know it then because I was too involved in my own issues with Inez and this chargeback situation. And my husband had an accident and there was other stuff going on. So no, I mean life YouTube is not my life. I'm sorry. So let's not forget the reality here that you all have, dirty hands, all of you. And if you think you can pin this on me, you got another thing coming. You really do. Like David said to me tonight, and which was like so true, when he said, you know what? He's like, at the end of the day, he's like, who are these people to you? They're really nothing. He's like, you don't know them. Um, Nobody cares about any of this shit unless you're in this community. My family will not care about this. My friends will not care about this. My employer will not care about this, like I said before. Nobody cares but a few handful of people that are here. So he's like, who cares? Um, um, like you said, it's like, when was the last time any of them did a haul or showed a baby or showed anything about this doll? This is supposed to be a doll hobby. Emily doesn't have reborns, or she doesn't show them. Tiny Magical Creatures doesn't do any videos anymore either. Sam doesn't even have reborns. So I don't know why they're even here. Why they're even in this community, I have no idea. Hold on a second. That it seems like that's all you guys have is this hobby. This community, this gossip mill. No jobs, no husbands, no money. Just gossip. No friends. I have been friends with Sam for over a year. I've never heard Sam talk about a friend ever. A friend outside anywhere. You know, like I have friends everywhere. And that's one thing she says, you talk to too many people, you have too many friends. Yeah, I do have a lot of friends. And I like having a lot of friends. Sorry. I'm a very social person, I have a lot of friends. You know what? If you don't have a lot of friends, there's something wrong with you. Um, but yeah, I have a lot of friends, and this community, one thing I will have to say, and that I will bring up in either tomorrow's video or the next video, is I will call out this Instagram person that screwed me over $12. It's only $12, but you know what? That's on her. Um, you know, if she throws her character out the window for $12, that's on her. But I will blast it all over my YouTube channel. Um, and Another thing is, I will not ever give my phone number to anybody here. Period. The people that have it will be the only ones that will ever have it. Everybody else can go take a hike. I'm not here for your own personal vendettas. I'm not here to settle your own personal scores with people. You're not victims. None of you are victims. You've been here way longer than me, and this drama has been going on way before I even got here. So stop the nonsense, you know, and stop involving new people in here and use them. And, you know, and other than that, you know, collect your dolls, make doll videos, and shut the hell up.